What's up, guys? CJ here.
And this is Nick.
And welcome to our full season review of Luke Cage Season 1. Now, it just dropped this morning at 3 a.m. Me and Nick binged. We powered our way through this. We actually finished up in just under 12 hours. I think, Nick, you were done at like 11 and a half hours, and I think I finished up almost exactly right at 12 hours. So that was an experience. It was... We've done this for just about, I think, 3 of the 4 Netflix shows so far, and it's I always enjoy them, but like it wears me out. It honestly, I can only compare it to like a long plane ride. But you made sure you were prepared this time, right? You got some snacks and stuff.
It's not really recommended to experience this many episodes back to back because
no,
you can't really process everything that's happening. But yeah,
it's really it is kind of a strange like buffer sensation where I wonder. And first things first, let me say I really enjoyed Luke Cage. I almost wonder if I would have enjoyed it a little bit more had I taken a little more of a measured approach and not watched 13 episodes in a little under 12 hours.
Yeah, if you like split it up like 2 or 3 a day or something. Or...
It's like eating a large pizza by yourself. You enjoy it, but you almost wonder at the end, should I have done this? Would I have enjoyed it more if I had... So, like, whatever. I just... that's a metaphor that's going to take a long time to develop. So, Nick, what are some of your first impressions of this first season of Luke Cage?
Initially, like, the series wasn't exactly what I was imagining it would be, actually. I thought it would be a little bit, like, more lighthearted-ish, I guess, because of, like, just the Luke Cage comics or something, I guess. Like, more of that kind of funky tone to it. But, I mean, it fits in, right, with the other shows. Like, it's in that world. You can tell, like, there's... This one actually... It's the things that stuck out to me was that it actually kind of made more references to the MCU. Like, it made a point to be like, yes, we're in the MCU and stuff, like...
Oh yeah, there were a ton of MCU references. Really, I mean, but it felt natural, though. That was the thing for me. And first things, before we go any further, this is a full spoilers review, as you can tell by the title, so we will get into some specific stuff. We're not going to be recapping the plot too much, but we will be mentioning things specifically, so if you haven't watched it and you don't want to be spoiled, don't come crying to us, because we're telling you now, and it's in the title.
That's going to be 20 dislikes. Spoilers.
Specifically, I mean, they talk about the incident in New York, whereas for, like, Daredevil and Jessica Jones, it was mainly, like, stuck to just, like, newspaper clippings, I think, was like the extent of the callbacks. This, you had a guy like in the very beginning, like a street corner guy. He was like, "Hey, I've got full HD footage of the incident, the alien invasion. I've got all this stuff. And then they also had hammer tech weapons, and then there were just a bunch of other callbacks to the other Netflix shows, even more than Daredevil season 2 had Jerry Hogarth in it, and Jessica Jones. I'm trying to remember. There was another reference there as well. But this one really, it felt like it lived in that world. Nothing was too forced to me. That's a good point. For me, I kind of expected it to be lighthearted too. And there was, they were talking a big game about how it was going to really, embrace this, classic hip hop culture and all that. And I loved that. I mean, like I said, spoilers, cameo from Method Man. You get the Luke Cage rap in there, and Sway. Like, Sway is in this. If you like Sway, if you know what I'm talking about, Sway and the radio show show up in this show. But I didn't expect it to really draw so heavily from like the classic like 70s blaxploitation films. Like, it really feels like that, especially in some of the choice of color. The choice of especially like the score in certain moments. Like, there's not a scene where there's a villain on screen that the score is not like bumping. Like it's this very kind of classic funk music that'll play. But yeah, I mean, it's not like it's like upbeat like he's Willy Wonka or anything. Like, you get a sense that he is a bad dude, but it's just it's ever present. And I loved it. It was very, like I said, I think when we were talking about this before the call, it's kind of kitschy in a way, but it's super endearing. And this just feels like it's entirely like its own thing. It's fantastic. So that actually might be like my favorite thing about the show, is just how much it embraces both classic hip hop culture and kind of takes the blaxploitation film genre and makes it its own, and really one of the strengths of the film. What was your favorite thing about the show?
I think that a lot of things that I liked about the show were like just in terms of like the characters and stuff that happened, and also the fact that they did actually embrace like current events and stuff too. Like, there was a lot of like, there was a lot of scenes where they talked about like the hoodie and all that, the police and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
Like they actually
It
did
really
tackle
does.
that stuff. So
It feels the social message. The social message is like on the nose. It's very timely. I don't want It's kind of strange because it feels like it could have been filmed like just yesterday with all the stuff that's been going on. It really kind of, if you look at it that way and think about when it was filmed, it really highlights this is an ongoing, ever-present thing in our society, unfortunately. But it's fantastic. It kind of feels like it's got one foot in the Marvel universe and one foot in the real world. But on top of that, I think, in my opinion, like for this show, this first season, I would say technically, in my opinion, probably the best of the Netflix shows, at least as far as acting is concerned. I think top to bottom, the acting for each character and the characterization of the characters, the writing was really, really stellar, really fantastic. Specifically the one character that stands out to me, even though Mike Coulter was great, Alfre Woodard as Mariah Dillard, fantastic stuff. And even the guy that plays Diamondback plays a huge role in this show, maybe a little more than I was thinking. Mahershala Ali as Cottonmouth
he was great.
The highlight. Oh my goodness, the standout. He was incredible, and that's why it was so shocking to me when he dies halfway through the show. He gets killed off in a very surprising way, and it's completely shocking because while he's not exactly 100% in control as the show's going on, it is a very, very jarring thing that happens. I think who was your standout character?
I did like Mike Coulter a lot. I actually did like the Misty Knight character too, and also the introduction of Claire in the show too was really good. And she really actually helped the plot a lot too.
Oh yeah,
so
she has a lot to do here. She's not just, a lot of people had mentioned her as kind of the connective tissue of these Netflix shows because she was popping up everywhere. But no, she wasn't just like a cameo in this one, or like she's going to help Daredevil out, even though it kind of started that way. It's like she's going to help Luke Cage out. No, she has a ton to do. Like from the moment she comes into the show, which I think is episode 5 or 6, she's there till the end of the line. Like she's there all the way.
Yeah, and also when Luke is like injured and they have to go to that doctor's place and like do the acid thing and all that, that was crazy.
Oh my god, that was crazy. And that kind of brings up a good point, like with the doctor. Episode 4, I think, is really, if you're looking for one episode to watch that'll sell people on the show, it's got to be episode 4, right?
Yeah, that one's really good.
So for those of you that maybe haven't watched the show yet, that is the origin story of Luke Cage in Seagate Prison. It's kind of told interestingly, like through flashbacks. The episode is like 90% the flashback, though. But as it kind of develops, it's ripped straight from the page. Specifically, it's ripped straight from this one-shot issue from, I want to say 2013, Avengers Origins, Luke Cage #1. It is literally basically that exact origin story. They added the Fight Club element to it, but it is very, very close. The other connective tissue that nobody talks about, and I think this was a character that really stood out in this series as well. Turk Barrett.
Yeah.
Turk Barrett is the shining star. I mean, he shows up for the first couple episodes, drops out, and then comes back again, like in real true form. So, Nick, before we move on to the last little bit, is there anything else that really stood out to you about the show?
I guess the thing that actually stood out a lot to me was how the whole show is about like Luke becoming the hero that he should be and stuff, but also it was kind of weird how at the end of the show, the hero is pretty much lost actually at the end of the show. Yeah,
it's kind of funny. It's and I think a big point about that ending is, despite what happens, like despite everything and the great development that's happened, we're literally back to basically where we were in the beginning of the show, with Misty Knight in the club looking to take down the corrupt Stoke family member, and Luke Cage unfortunately on the move again. But so the one little tidbit I'll add here, just in a one sentence kind of form. People will be writing papers for years, I think, about the use of color in this show. Like, not even like, I'm not speaking of color as in like racial terms, but like color in shots from a film study perspective. But, whatever. That's just a little technical thing. The last thing that I want to do, kind of a little fun here. People can disagree with us in the comments. If you've seen it, sound off in the comment section below with your thoughts on this. But, Nick, how do you rank the 4 MCU Netflix seasons that we've gotten so far?
I think I'm just going to stick still with Daredevil Season 1 as my favorite, then this as my second, and then Daredevil Season 2, then Jessica Jones as my least favorite.
I think I'm going to go, I'm going to flip your top two. I'm going to say Luke Cage as my top one now, just because I think top to bottom, technically this is, in my opinion, just the best. And then moving on down, just down one, Daredevil Season 1, because that was a revelation. I don't go Daredevil Season 2 and Jessica Jones. Nothing against Jessica Jones, but I just think this was so fantastic, though. Any final thoughts, Nick?
Final thought, I really wasn't super looking forward to the show. I'm more interested personally in Iron Fist to see the kung fu and stuff like that, but this show just really took me by surprise, and it was actually surprising how we were talking about how usually the Netflix shows lose steam halfway through, but this one almost had a second story that started halfway through, and that carried it through.
It was interesting that they talk a lot with Netflix shows in general, not just the MCU Netflix shows, but just about Netflix SAG, because they like to play these as basically 13-hour movies. In the middle, so you start off strong, you've got the origin story and all the setup, and then in the last couple episodes you have the resolution, tying up all the loose ends, but in the middle you usually get into this filler subplot stuff. And Luke Cage kind of had a little bit of that, but it really felt natural over the course of the show. So this, to me, it just carried itself, all the way through. To me, I agree with you. It wasn't something that I was 100% I'm not a huge Luke Cage fan, but I am after this show. I'm a complete bandwagon guy now. I'm going to be buying Luke Cage t-shirts and stuff like that. But who knows? Up next is Iron Fist. We don't have a release date for that. Hopefully we'll find out at NYCC, actually. There was a little reference there at the end for anyone that might catch it. But who knows? On to Iron Fist we go, which is something that I'm hugely excited for all the reasons you listed. So, anything else that you want to add, Nick?
Overall, I think I'd give it an 8 out of 10, just the whole season. Or whatever.
8 out of 10. Yeah. I say a 9 or a 9.5 for me. I loved it. Like I said, I'm a huge stan. It might be the lack of sleep. We'll see where I feel tomorrow.
You need to process it.
I need to go back and watch one episode a week for the next 13 weeks, but no. Alright guys, so that wraps it up for our review of Luke Cage Season 1. Hope you enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments section down below what you thought of the show if you finished watching it, and what your rankings for the MCU Netflix seasons are right now after this. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Come back and tell us. For Nick, I'm CJ, and we'll see you next series.